Picture this. Two people, same starting point. Both have exactly $5,000 sitting in their bank account right now. Fast forward 5 years and one of them is still staring at roughly that same balance, while the other has quietly built a financial system that generates money while they sleep. Same starting amount, completely different outcomes. The gap between them has nothing to do with luck or background or even intelligence. It comes down to one decision: what they chose to do with that money the moment they had it. Here's the reality most people ignore. Inflation in the United States has been running between 3 and 4% annually. The average credit card interest rate has surpassed 20%, and yet millions of people are letting their savings collect dust in accounts that barely keep pace with rising prices. $5,000 alone will not change your life, but the strategy behind it absolutely can. Today, we're breaking down exactly what to do with that money, how to protect it, how to grow it, and how to use it as leverage. Let's get into it. The first thing you need to understand is that a savings account is not a wealth-building tool. It is a protection tool. The moment you confuse those two things, your financial progress stalls. Even the best high-yield savings accounts today offer somewhere around 4 to 5% annually. That sounds reasonable until you factor in inflation eating away at 3 to 4% of your purchasing power at the same time. You're barely treading water. Meanwhile, the S&P 500 has historically delivered nominal returns of around 7 to 10% annually over the long run. That difference, compounded over 20 years, is the gap between financial comfort and genuine financial freedom. So if cash is not for growing wealth, what is it actually for? It's your personal buffer against chaos, and it needs to be structured properly. The first layer is a starter emergency fund, somewhere between $1,000 and $2,000 set aside to handle life's minor disruptions without reaching for a credit card. The second layer is a full reserve, 3 to 6 months of living expenses for most people, and up to 12 months if your income is unpredictable. Close to 60% of Americans cannot cover a single $1,000 emergency without borrowing money. That means most people are one bad month away from derailing everything they've worked for. Keep this money somewhere like a high-yield online savings account, a money market fund, or short-term treasury bills. Liquid, accessible, and reasonably protected against inflation. Once that foundation is locked in, every financial decision you make after that becomes sharper and cleaner. Before you put a single dollar into the market, there's one question you need to answer honestly. Are you carrying high-interest debt? Because investing while paying 25% interest on a credit card balance is not building wealth. It's bleeding out slowly while telling yourself you're making progress. Here's the math that changes everything. Paying off a debt charging 25% interest is mathematically equivalent to earning a guaranteed 25% return on that money. No volatility, no risk, completely guaranteed. The stock market averages 7 to 10% annually before taxes. High-interest debt beats that return every single time, just working against you instead of for you. Not all debt deserves the same urgency, though. Credit cards, payday loans, and high-rate personal loans should be eliminated as fast as possible. But a fixed-rate mortgage at 3% or federal student loans below 5% operate under a different logic entirely. If your debt costs 4% and your investments historically return 8%, carrying that debt while investing actually makes mathematical sense. The key is that the gap has to be significant and clear. When it's not, pay the debt first. There's also something the numbers alone cannot fully capture. The psychological weight of carrying debt affects how you think, how you sleep, and how clearly you plan your financial future. Eliminating high-interest debt doesn't just improve your monthly cash flow, it removes a constant mental drag that slows everything down. And that mental clarity is itself an accelerator for everything that follows. Once your emergency fund is solid and high-interest debt is gone, the game changes completely. You're no longer playing defense. Now the goal is putting capital to work and understanding the difference between money that sits and money that compounds over time. Here's a concept worth grasping early on: real return versus nominal return. If your investment grows 6% in a year, but inflation runs at 3%, your actual real return is only 3%. After adjusting for inflation, the long-term real returns from broad market investing tend to land closer to 5 to 7%. That's the number that actually matters, because it represents purchasing power you're genuinely gaining. $5,000 invested today at a 5% real return becomes approximately $13,000 in 20 years without adding a single additional dollar. That figure alone isn't life-changing, but it demonstrates something critical. Time is doing work you're not doing. Now add just $100 a month to that same investment over those 20 years. Your outcome jumps to approximately $54,000 in real purchasing power. Same starting point, same return rate, same time horizon. The only variable that changed was a modest, consistent contribution. For someone starting out, the practical approach is straightforward. Open a brokerage account on a zero-commission platform. Automate your contributions so the decision happens without you having to make it every month. Then spend 15 to 30 minutes daily learning about stocks, exchange-traded funds, real estate investment trusts, and how markets actually behave. Financial literacy compounds exactly the way money does. Think about your allocation in layers rather than placing one single bet. A beginner framework might include around 40% in diversified ETFs tracking broad indexes like the total market, 20% in quality individual stocks of companies you genuinely understand, 15% in real estate investment trusts for property exposure without massive capital requirements, 10% in an alternate asset like Bitcoin treated as a non-correlated store of value rather than pure speculation, and keeping the remaining 15% liquid for opportunities or short-term needs. This is not a rigid prescription. Your risk tolerance, age, income stability, and timeline should all shape how you adjust these proportions. One principle holds across every single allocation: dollar-cost averaging, meaning you invest a fixed amount consistently regardless of market conditions. This removes the trap of trying to time the market, something even professional fund managers consistently fail to do. Bear markets happen roughly every 5 to 7 years on average. The investors who stay in and keep contributing are the ones who win. The people who panic sell, lock in their losses, and miss the recovery entirely. The stock market is not the only place your capital can work for you. Equipment rental is one of the most underestimated income strategies available with a smaller starting amount. Event supplies like tables, tents, and lighting can be rented out repeatedly for weddings and corporate gatherings. Landscaping and power washing equipment serves consistent local demand. Photography gear can be rented to creators and small businesses through platforms specifically built for that marketplace. In many cases, the initial investment returns itself within 6 to 12 months, and from that point forward, the income is essentially ongoing. What makes this model compelling is the ceiling, or rather the lack of one. Market investments are capped by market performance. A business built on your own skill and capital has uncapped upside potential. That asymmetry is worth taking seriously. Here's what most financial content skips over. $5,000 is a starting point, not a solution. The real game is building the capacity to invest consistently over time, which means working both sides of the equation, not just where your money goes, but how much you're generating in the first place. Your savings rate matters more than your income level in the early stages of wealth building. Consider two people. The first earns $50,000 a year and consistently invests 10%, roughly $417 monthly. The second earns $70,000 but only invests 5%, about $292 monthly. After 5 years at a 5% real return, the first person has accumulated close to $28,000. The second, despite the higher salary, sits around $19,500. After 10 years, the gap widens to approximately $64,000 versus $45,000. The first person now has enough for a down payment on property, seed capital for a business, or a portfolio producing meaningful passive income. The second is still catching up with more income but less discipline. The machine that actually builds wealth is not your salary, it's the percentage of what you earn that you consistently put to work. Two final threats worth naming directly. First, the financial world is full of opportunities designed to exploit your ambition. Guaranteed returns, no risk, exclusive deals. If something sounds too clean, it almost certainly is. The SEC has increased enforcement against fraudulent schemes, but they keep evolving and adapting. Stay skeptical. Second, impatience. Markets drop. There will be periods where your portfolio falls 20, 30, even 40%. Treating emotional regulation as a skill rather than just a virtue is what separates investors who win from those who bail out at the worst possible moment. $5,000 is powerful not because of the amount, it's powerful because of what it represents: discipline, optionality, and the willingness to think intentionally about your future. Protect yourself first, eliminate financial drag, put capital to work, build income streams, guard what you build. Most people never start because they're waiting for a bigger number, but financial freedom doesn't begin with a larger sum. It begins the moment money stops being idle and starts being intentional, and that moment is available to you right now. If this video added value, hit the like button and subscribe for more straightforward content on building real wealth. Stop wishing you could have more time and freedom and take action to make it happen. This is what my friend Chris from Money Ripples tells clients to do all the time. His mission is to make 1,000 people financially free by 2030. To help him achieve this goal, he created a group coaching system and course called the Wealth Accelerator. The tools and lessons you learn about passive investing and how to vet deals are invaluable to helping you live the life you want. Want to learn more? Check out the course by clicking down the link below. If this video opened your eyes to what's possible, subscribe because your financial freedom story starts right here on this channel.